All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this Cast presentation. I'm your casting host, Beef, bringing you continued coverage of HoN Tour Season number 2. Right now, we are in cycle number 2. That's a lot of twos, Batman. And this is not game number 2. This is game number 3 with Excellent and Team USA all tied up 1-1 in the winners bracket semifinals. Winner of this game, this series, is going to be taking on Team. Spoiler alert, if you did not know the results of the other series, tune out for the next 10 seconds. In 3, 2, 1, they will be taking on Team Stay Green. The victor, 2-0, I believe, over TMSR in the other match. Team Stay Green has not failed to make it to a winners bracket finals match of HoN Tour in the last 7 cycles or something. 6 cycles, one of those two. It's kind of absurd. So they make it this time. Once again, looking for their 7th straight cycle championship or something. I don't even know. But in their way is going to be either Team Excellent or Team USA. Excellent took game number 1 in a very, very strong looking game. Had a bit of an advantage in game number 2, but the gank heavy lineup, the Pebbles, got a little bit too big for Team USA. Pebbles so far with a 1-1 record, I think, in this game. I believe that Zai played him for both of the first 2 games, but Team USA has got the momentum right now. Let's take a look at the game that's going on, as we do have the bands way up top. Tempest, Scout, Parasite, and Warbeast. Peter Pan Dam really respecting this Warbeast. We've not seen it so far this series, but banning it in both games number 2 and 3 in the first 3 bans. Warbeast, of course, Fine, one of his signature heroes in both the jungle, and I believe that he plays a Suicide Warbeast as well. Tempest and Parasite can be the bans from Bassett this time. Parasite and Ophelia have been the bans last 2 games, choosing to get rid of the Ophelia ban, but choosing not to take it, and of course a Scout ban, this time coming out from Peter Pan Dam, as Bassett has played that Scout in the last 2 games with great success in the Suicide lane. Choosing not to ban Engineer this time, so that one slips through, as well as Ophelia. So both of the new heroes that are not banned make it through in picks number 1 and 2. Not a huge surprise there. Engineer, widely regarded as the strongest support in the game, able to pair up so effectively with heroes like this Pebbles, Fade, Magnus, whatever you want in that middle lane, to have perhaps one of the most effective middle lane combinations that you could imagine. And of course his ability to get work done in the middle of those team fights is phenomenal. Ophelia, no surprise there whatsoever, an extremely strong jungler, has the aggressive potential, the ganking potential, does generally fit in with a more mid-game lineup, which makes sense with this Magnus. Get that portal key on Mag, get some big ultimates, big line stuns off, and definitely a lot of potential coming out right there. But between the Pebbles and the Dampier on Team Excellent that have now come out, I am absolutely terrified of this team. And I'm not even talking about the ability Terrorize. I am just talking about the 700 gold per minute, nearly 800 gold per minute Dampier we saw in game number 1 coming out of Nox. And of course, Pebbles, going to be played by Brodex 5 level. An excellent hero-player combination right there. Pebbles widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, initiators in the game at this point, as well as an extremely strong laner. When you've got these 3 heroes right now, Nox's signature hero and Dampier, plus an Engineer Pebbles combination, you get those 3 heroes out of your first 3 hero picks, and I'm just like, you could throw in 2 piles of garbage and a blender, and you'd still have a team that could make gold division right there. I don't know, man. I don't even know what's going on, because that team makeup is insane. It's going to be absolutely insane. Dampier most likely going to be heading into the bottom lane, though he could be part of an aggressive tri-lane as well. Now, the one thing that does taper this one off a little bit, Tempers, that is going to be this Corrupted Disciple. Both Zai and Tralfador play a phenomenal Corrupted Disciple. They won back-to-back games last week, I believe, against Lions Esports Club. I'm pretty sure it was against Lions. Might have been against VDT, actually. With this CD, and both times Corrupted Disciple had a massive impact. CD was banned out in the first game, not picked in the second, but this time we'll see either Zai or Tralf playing this one. Both of them do have very different ways of playing the hero as well, so that's going to be something interesting. Zai tending to play a more maxed out conduit type build, whereas Tralf has in the past chosen to max out the Electric Tide and maybe get a little bit more active early on. But Lodestone makes it through the bans and is immediately picked up. Speaking of those banned heroes, Keeper of the Forest being banned out this time by Bassett's Master of Arms and Wild Soul as well, so really respecting some of the heroes that Team USA does like to pick. Then, of course, you've got Torture, Rally, and Nymphora being banned out by Peter Van Dam. The Torture and Rally have been two staples of Team Excellent to be played by both Brodix 5 level and Pew. I believe they both had those heroes in games number 1 and 2. So forcing new heroes to come out in that respect. But one of those new heroes is going to be Lodestone. Bassett's 100% comfortable playing that one. And we'll see what Find is going to choose to go with now. The normal junglers plus War Beast are already banned out, so likely going to be a secondary support hero right here. Glacius is on the board, as is Pyromancer. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Pyromancer. That could be an extremely, extremely strong addition to this team, and that's my pick at least. Find did play a 350 gold per minute secondary support Pyro in game number 1, finishing up Portal Key as well as Astrolabe and a push stick by about 25 minutes in. It was pretty insane, but it will be an empath, and I've got to say, I don't know that I'm a fan of this. I really don't. Empath is a hero that does have very strong laning presence if you can land those walls perfectly, as we've seen from players like Support. Does have very strong laning presence, and once she is able to get level 6 and as 1, she can be very strong in that regard, but I just don't feel like she contributes nearly as much to a team as something like that Pyromancer in this situation, especially when it comes to something like anti-push. Pyromancer, one of the strongest anti-pushers in the game against somebody like this Ophelia. Empath not going to contribute as much. And with that being said, there's not a whole lot of other pushing potential to be coming in here on the Hellborn team, but that's neither here nor there. We're going into this one, game number 3 between Excellent and USA. One of these teams could be walking away and making their way into the winner's bracket semifinals. The other team, well, they're going to have to go into the next week, maybe hanging their shoulders a little bit, knowing that they do not have momentum going into next weekend's HoN Tour cycle. But we'll see. Both of them want to come out with the W here. Only one of them can, though. Final pick, by the way, on the other side was Bubbles. So Zai finally getting back onto a suicide hero. He has been on Pebbles for the past 2 games, where he's done well, but has not done as well as we would normally expect out of Zai. So in this case, I think that I'm a little bit more comfortable seeing Zai in that situation. Going to be on the Bubbles. Pew, this was a very interesting Ward of Sight, and I gotta say, I expect that this is a mistake. I expect that this is supposed to be right here, which is going to, 1, block out Ophelia. 2, it's going to give vision to about right here-ish, and it'll give vision up to about here-ish, and it'll give vision to about here-ish. So I think that's a mistake, because right now you can see the vision stops right here and right here. So a little bit unfortunate to waste one of your wards very early on with that one. They will get a successful ward in the bottom lane. Nobody gets to spot that one out and look for any counter wards, at least just yet. Aluna getting another counter ward out right here. So I'm going to go ahead and send out a tweet real quick, like on twitter.com/beefpotpie1. If you guys do use that particular brand of social media, make sure to hit that for a follow with all your updates on Colecast and whatever else is going on. We've got Team Excellent and Team USA all tied up at 1-1. Find out who takes game number 3 and moves on in HoN to winner's bracket. There we go. Send that one out. So laning situation is going to be a Lodestone up here in the top lane. It's going to be a Luna trying to do a little bit of babysitting. Corrupted Disciple is very, very good at actually holding this lane down by himself, but Luna going to be more so just stacking. Going to realize that nothing there to block that one. Now, Bubbles in the bottom lane going to take a considerable amount of damage at the hands of Empath, but because of this Ring of Protection, Empath will actually have a pretty rough time just trading auto attacks. So Bubbles very comfortable with a 300 regen and the Ring of Protection just to trade those autos. Right now, Magnus going to be holding it down in the middle lane by himself. So this is going to be more of a suicide mid Magnus rather than a farming Magnus as a result of Peter Pan Dam being in the top lane. Mag Aluna versus a Pebbles Engineer. I think that what went through Team USA's head is we cannot fight this. We simply cannot fight this. Aluna and Magnus is not a strong enough combination to take this head on. Instead, we're going to try to get Aluna more levels up in the top lane by allowing her to stack and protect this CD. And then we're going to allow Magnus to skimp out on some farm. He will not farm as well, but we'll get more levels in the middle lane, at least for the first couple of minutes. And then Aluna, maybe once she hits level 3 or 4, might come back here. Magnus hopefully be level 4 or 5 by that point, and then they might be able to fight it out a little bit more effectively. So I think that's what we're going to see here. Bottom lane, Bubbles already hitting level 2. Will get a Shell Surf off and even throw out some auto attack damage onto Empath. Nice job from Zai holding it down in the bottom lane, and we'll even be able to get quite a bit of experience off of the tower now as Dampier has lost control of this lane. And Pew double stacking, but is going to need a triple before he can pull that. Otherwise, the creeps will not finish off. The ogres will not finish off the lane creeps. Up in the top lane, what I'm really interested in is Corrupted Disciple lost lane control very early on. And that's not something that we typically see. Now going to be regaining that lane control as a result of the triple stack pull that Aluna is providing. So going to have to actually tank the creeps here a little bit, but not a big problem. Massed's just going to dig himself in to get some experience for the long haul as well. And how about this? Pew already with a Word of Revelation there. Trying to see if there might have been a ward site in either this location to try to facilitate a little bit of roaming going on. Empath, once she gets some more levels, is going to want to roam in that middle lane to try to set up a kill onto Magnus. In regards to the ward that is there, though, gonna have that ward of sight up on the high ground, spying on down, and here's Aluna doing a lot of damage to Lodestone, and this is really good play coming out of Peter Pan Dam, making sure to zone Lodestone as much as possible, but Lodestone, he just wants to get up in there. He'll trade autos. He'll make sure that he hits you with that big 240 damage head smash. Bubbles trying to get some last hits over here. Empath even having to use the wall, and this is kind of what I'm talking about here. Empath is just not the strongest hero. Like, he does have a pretty good laning potential if teamed up with a teammate. And if against pretty much anything other than Bubbles. Bubbles just shuts him down so effectively as a result of not only breaking the Essence Link with 1 point into the take cover, but also just the fact that he can Shell Surf wherever he wants. In this case, that Shell Surf is going to be to an Invisor that was just taken by Brodex. Wasn't able to bottle it up. His engineer had taken the bottle up top, and it was quite a time-sensitive issue. But in either event. So, these lanes not necessarily going the hottest, as Magnus is going to have to stun here in just a second. Should be able to get out of there. He's considerably slowed as Pebbles is going to get the chuck, actually. And now Magnus going to be trying to walk away. A couple more autos, and there it is. Bloodlust coming out for Brodex, 5 level and fine in the middle lane. That's what they needed after having a little bit of a bad time in terms of resources. Not looking so good for him. They will need that kill pretty badly. At this point, it is going to be a push coming out from Ophelia. And I actually really like this Bubbles choice. I've got to say, the last pick Bubbles does very well against Dampier because of the auto take cover, and then the take cover breaking the Essence Link from Empath. There's two big reasons right there as to why Bubbles is probably your best case scenario for a suicide. And one of the reasons I liked seeing Magnus early on in the pick, because he was either a suicide or a mid. Lots of versatility, not really locking yourself into one position or another. So, tower goes down in the top lane, and Team USA continuing to retain a slight resource advantage. Now it's going to be up to Team Excellent, trying to see if they might be able to set up a gank here. Maybe on the middle lane or the top lane, now that Corrupted Disciple is a little bit out of position. But Engineer is actually the one that's going to be caught out now. There's the 1 second Emerald Lightning stun. Nice keg from Engineer. He'll drop the turret as well. Just for good measure, as he's going to have to take a trip to town anyway. Maybe not. I don't know about that. I think I would have just preferred seeing Engineer maybe take a trip to town. But oh, he's going to grab a bottle from Pebbles. Always nice to have friends. Zai's been doing a pretty good job in the bottom lane. 200 gold per minute is pretty good for being up against a Dampier and an Empath. But speaking of Empath, she's level 4, keeping even levels with Luna. And of course, Dampier farming very, very well himself at 339 gold per minute. Brodex at 350, the top farmer on his team. And this is what Pebbles has failed to do in the first couple of games, is get this big snowballing start. 350-ish gold per minute at the beginning. Both games for Zai, he was 250 or less come about the 7-8 minute mark. And so Brodex having a much better time in the middle lane, mostly as a result of being in a 1v2 lane, but always going to be useful. Now, Magnus, as well as Luna and Bubbles, want to set something up here. They're going to have to let this tower go. We saw in game number 1 that Q was able to get a massive last hit on the tower, but not so much in this case. And in game number 1, when Trophimidor was Soul Stealer in this top lane position, able to hit the jungle and really clear that one out. But this time with Ophelia, at least clearing out part of the jungle, and then Corrupted Disciples' just general inability to jungle effectively, he's going to have to put himself into some risky situations up here. And without a lane ward, he's going to be relying on the fact that his team is generating pressure at the bottom lane in order to farm safely. And, well, generate pressure they certainly are attempting to do. Bubbles hits level 6 and is now possibly on the hunt for a kill. Unfortunately, the vision from the Helmborn team is pretty sparse. One more sight here covering the middle lane, but not much else. And so the pressure that's being generated is not that significant. It's instead going to be Engineer and Empath protecting Dampier, as Dampier is allowed to farm the bottom lane, but no lane ward here for Dampier either, so he's going to have to go into the jungle, something that he's pretty comfortable with. Pebbles managing to bottle up a Haster is going to be pretty big if he gets the assistance of one other player and they donate the spells. Getting the kill, he could very well set that one up, and I think it's going to be the Corrupted Disciple up top. Yes, Hastern is activated. CD backing up immediately as soon as Pebbles was no longer showing in the middle lane. So Pebbles going to come back in. He'll probably drop a combo. Nope. Just going to go for some additional last hits. So took a chance with that one. Okay, now he's going to drop the combo onto Magnus, but Magnus going to not turn it around. Not sure where everybody else is. So Lodestone in some trouble up top. Wait for the kelp field here. And then might be able to TP on out. Nice take cover. And Lodestone actually going to be alright. I'm surprised that he's not trying to TP out. Bubbles already used the kelp field. Looked like he was trying for a counter kill as Engineer in some trouble in the middle lane. Catman and Minotaur stun. And, well, Magnus in some trouble now. Will Slagmites get there? Yes, they will. The Chuck and the auto attack, even with the Ophelia heal, not enough. And B-Kid will go down. His second death, and the second death for his team so far in this game. Great job from Pew, not only to get that wall up, making sure that Magma stayed in vision range of the tower, then getting the Essence Link, breaking it so that Pebbles was able to get in there for the full combo. So very, very well done. And now Team Excellent starting to get a little bit of momentum. And meanwhile, while this is all going on, we got Dampier farming 332 gold per minute. Not exactly the 450 gold per minute start that he's had in that first game, but still having a good time down here. And the Grimoire power going to be on the way. He'll have the light brand probably by about 11.5 minutes. Now keep in mind that a normal Grimoire power timing for Nox is probably around 14 to 15 minutes. And so this one will likely be significantly slower. Once he gets that light brand up, he is going to farm a lot faster, but having a lot of wild hunters and unfortunately not a lot of stacks to farm in the jungle at this point is one of the things that's slowing him down considerably. On the other side of things, Corrupted Disciple, not exactly on a flash farming hero either. Going to rely on hitting all these last hits, taking advantage of the jungle when he can, but mostly it's just going to require some time for Corrupted Disciple to get into really big fighting form. Right now working towards an Energizer, but not exactly the fastest on the way there. Lodestone not being spotted out here. That's surprising. He'll try to set up right now. This is going to be sketchy. And going to go in on Corrupted Disciple. There's the head smash. And no stink boots toggle from Corrupted Disciple. He does go down. Great job from Bassett executing the Lodestone combo. And so Triumph goes down for the first time in this game. Sitting on Agi boots, if he had had strength boots on, would have survived that 100%. And just wasn't able to swap them in time. But things happen. Dampier going to be moving his way down the bottom lane, trying to exercise his might onto this tower, but knowing that TPs are likely available, and especially with bubbles on the board, need to be pretty careful as a Dampier without an escape mechanism or the ability to really man up inside of a tower just yet. He'll instead fall back into the jungle, work on those once again. Another set of Wild Hunters going to be the bane of his existence. Ooh, Big Kid, gonna miss the stun right there. Wanted Pebbles pretty badly, but not quite able to handle it. And Pebbles just gonna work on some anti-push now. Still trying to find last hits when he can, but most important is staying alive and delaying this push. He's about 400 gold away from his portal key. And this push is now gonna be stopped by one kill on an Ophelia minion and the other one having to be sent to town. At least I would think it's gonna be stopped. It's severely diminished. Lodestone has a Shadow Storm up in 10 seconds. And we'll see if Pebbles is able to land a big stalagmite to set that one up. But no, now Team USA going to disband. And I'm not talking about disbanding the team, but going to, well, move away from the middle lane. To disperse. That might be a better way to say it. I gotta work on my vocabulary, guys. There's the light brand for Dampier, as well as the portal key for Pebbles, so Brodex still continuing to have a very, very good time. Anti-siege weapon of the Vulture Lord is online. Starting to pelt Team Excellent with the volcanic... Wait, what? Volcanic winds? That would be terrifying. That would be absolutely terrifying. Anybody that lives in Southern California knows the problem with Santa Ana winds. You add a volcano into that, and you got a major issue. I think there was a movie about a volcano in LA. Either way. Well, Magnus being spotted out here a little bit as there's a rocket drill going off. It will just be the tower. TP going to be canceled as well. And Magnus is out of there. CD was off farming, still looking for that Energizer. Up the Disciples farm is starting to get pretty poor. 317 gold per minute, whereas Nox is starting to take off. Has that light brand coming out. He'll have the Grimoire power by about 18 minutes here. And so Team USA, they've got a mid-game fighting team. They're going to have to make use of it. So far, their pushes have been thwarted. Only able to take down a Tier 1 tower top and put a little bit of pressure on the Tier 2 in that top lane, as well as the Tier 1 mid. But no tower push is really going to be completed in the light of any defense. So they got to make something happen with this Ophelia pick, because so far not really being executed to the fullest. And with Pebbles already having a portal key online, you got both Aluna and probably even the bubbles that are going to be quite vulnerable. Especially to an invisible Pebbles. This Ward of Revelation is going to protect them for now, though. There's another Ward of Revelation at the bottom lane. The Hellborn team acting very, very cautious. They're going to start to move out now. There's the Energizer going to be activated, but Pebbles is already back, so not even going to reveal themselves. Instead, just going to be working on some Ancients. There's the Eruption going to be channeled. And Triple Stack Ancients does go down, getting them back in the game via the resources just a little bit, but still by no means a ton. Brodex has been hanging around this bottom lane for forever, it seems like. He wants to get a kill. Not quite able to, even throwing out some stalagmites. But he'll bottle up a regen and be happy with that one. The Legion team going to be pretty comfortable to sit back and farm at this point, knowing that they've got timings to hit. Generally speaking, those timings are going to involve Dampier. Probably a Grimoire portal key timing on Dampier. Probably going to be looking for that one around 21 minutes or so. Chuck backwards into the keg. There's the turret. Unfortunately, not the perfect placement. Ultimate is going to be dropped here from Engineer. Bubble's going to go forward. Gets the Kelpfield onto 2. They both break it immediately. And Engineer going to be able to walk away from this one relatively unscathed. Pebbles in the front lines perhaps did activate that regen as bottom lane Nox gets the kill on a B-Kid. Well, I'm not sure exactly what was going on down there. I saw B-Kid taking damage and I'm like, he's Magnus. He doesn't die to anything short of that Pebbles. Well, in this case he died to that Dampier, even with strength boots on. It's the power of Dampier. But Grimoire Power has gone ahead and, well, he's going to be lighting up the scene on Dampier with those big burst damage. Give me level 14 here very soon. And this is kind of what happens with Nox. I would think after the nearly 800 gold per minute Dampier in game number 1, the Peter Pan Dam would have a memory of more than one game. But didn't ban out, forgot, or didn't choose to ban out Dampier in game number 3. And some might recall that Nox's Dampier has like 89% win ratio. Win rate in cycle or season number 2 so far. Something you should probably address, at least in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, maybe you don't want to address it. Maybe you don't fear it that much. I would think you'd fear it after game number 1 when he had a Shrunken Head, Frostwolf Skull, Grimoire of Power, Assassin's Shroud Portal Key at 30 minutes and was level 25. Like, that's something you should fear. But once again, that's just me. Middle lane, Hasted Pebbles looking for a kill. Might find Magnus. No, not going to happen. Somebody just picked up a portal key. Looks like it was Bubbles. Grabbing one at the side shop. Not often that you see the Suicide getting it before your mid player, but Magnus unfortunately did not have the strongest time in the middle lane as a result of the 1v2 situation. But hell, Bubbles had a 1v2 as well in the bottom. Bubbles just hasn't fed through deaths. B-Kid having a rough time in his first game of the day. For those of you that didn't hear earlier, B-Kid was not present for the first 2 games. Pablo McDad filling in, playing the Keeper of the Forest Suicide in both of those. And USA looking like they finally want to gather up once again here in the middle lane. Will they be able to knock down the tier 1 tower? Well, we'll see here in just a second, I suppose. There's a portal key. Perfect timing on Lodestone. Gonna be looking to set up something big. Got no portal key on Dampier. Just kidding. Terrorized in there. Ophelia and Luna both down immediately. Corrupt Disciple ultimate up. Going hard right here. Magnus channeling the eruption, but not doing a ton of damage. Bubbles trying to shell surf on out of there. Will get out. Corrupted Disciple has managed to take down Engineer. Will he get any more? Not going to happen. And Bubbles goes down a full 5-man wipe in favor of Team Excellent. And Peter Pan Dam going to call GG's right then and there. Vote to concede is put up, and that's going to do it. Team USA throwing in the towel prior to 20 minutes. Saying, okay, we had our opportunity with Corrupted Disciple and Ophelia, and we failed to meet our timing. Our window to execute is unfortunately not going to happen. And they choose to throw in the towel nice and early. Nothing wrong with knowing when you are beat. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today. Team Excellent takes the series 2-1 over Team USA. They're going to make their way into the winners bracket winners bracket finals this time to play against Team. One more time, spoiler alert, if you do not know the results and do not want to know the results of the other semifinal match, tune out for the next 10 seconds. And 3, 2, 1, spoilers. They will play against Team Stay Green, who took out Team SR 2-0 in the other winners bracket semifinal. That match is going to be going on next week. So guys, that's going to do it for our coverage today. Congratulations to Team Excellent on making it into their first winners bracket final match. Once again, going to secure top 3. This is going to be back top 3 finishes here for Team Excellent. And they are certainly showing that they are a force to be reckoned with. Team USA managed to take the game off of Stay Green last week, and here's Team Excellent not only beating them 2-1, but forcing a pre-20-minute concede out of Team USA in the final game with the normal roster. Very, very well played. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you very much for tuning in to both Colecast and HoNcast coverage of HoN Tour Cycle number 2. We'll be back next Saturday with continued coverage of HoN Tour. Until then, we're probably going to have some gold on Tuesday and Thursday. Probably going to be looking at some Scrimcast live here starting maybe Tuesday as well. And then, of course, tomorrow we do have the HoNcast podcast. That's going to be 1 p.m. EDT. That's Eastern Time. You got 10 a.m. Pacific, and that's going to be 1900 CEST. So make sure to tune in for that discussion about this weekend's HoN Tour events, where things stand in the rest of the world, and possibly another announcement going to be coming up that does affect the competitive scene. I'll tell you right now, there will be an announcement then. So, guys, make sure to tune on into that one. And until then, thank you for being here. Follow my social media, Facebook and Twitter at BeefPotPie1. Make sure to check out the VODs over on YouTube. All the info in the description below. And of course, make sure to hit the follow button here on Colecast. Check out the subscriber feature as well. And then, guys, one more time, a big shout out to Complexity Gaming for their support of Colecast and esports. All the sponsors that you can see on the screen right there doing great things and supporting all kinds of things. But guys, we're going to be back next weekend. Until then, thank you for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow on the podcast. Hope to see you all then. We're out.